all of my clips are just spot on, right?
Yeah.
But and I bounce around a lot. Maybe we might be talking on one subject, and I'll come back to it in a minute. But okay, let me see if this is.
I've turned my stream on. I'm not recording yet. I just want to let you know that we are live on YouTube and Kick. But I haven't started recording yet, so don't worry.
Okay, cool. Well, I'll let me see. I will tell you the truth that the man who does not enter the sheep pen by the gate, but okay, I can read that. All right, man.
You want me to go ahead and mute my mic?
No, no, man. Just yeah, yeah, but don't forget to unmute it, my
Yeah,
friend.
yeah. I can just tap it. It's a tap to tap to mute.
All right, let me get my intro clip up. Facebook. All right, blues up. Can you hear this?
Warning. This show is about the return of our...
Can you hear that?
Yep.
Okay.
This show is about the
All
return
right.
of our...
All right. You ready?
All right, hang on.
All right. You ready?
My YouTube debut.
Absolutely.
And kick. All right, ready?
Yep.
Go.
Yep.
Warning. This show is about the return of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. If you are easily offended by the truth, then you need to keep listening. His return is drawing near.
SmokeHouseStudios.net. The Front Porch Show. A unique blend of current events and what they might mean. Humbly seen through the eyes of God's Word, the Bible, in an old school front porch discussion with occasional guests, your input, and a guiding hand through Christ. Broadcasting from atop the front porch, it's SmokeHouseStudios.net's The Front Porch Show. Now, carefully blending more smoke goodness in each and every soundbite. Your host, Smokehouse.
Hi, hello, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, friends, wherever you may be across the globe and across the United States. Old Smokehouse with you here. SmokeHouseStudios.net Front Porch Show. Out here live, coming to you on iHeartRadio, Spotify, all of the podcast sites as well. And I'm very excited tonight. We have got a good friend of mine, and I'll call him a friend because I've watched the man grow, and we've become very good acquaintances. And buddy, you want to talk about somebody that's awake and somebody that's doing something about it. This young man is one of those that are, of the age that the majority of the kids are today, but one that is awakened. And instead of running around there arguing and griping about it, man, he's out there doing it himself. He's got his own live channels. We're live right now, matter of fact, on his networks of YouTube and I believe Kick. And we're going to bring him aboard real quick, let you get to meet him. Brother David Heath with Why Try Blaze. Welcome to the Front Porch Show, my friend.
What is going on, Front Porch Studio? How are we doing tonight?
Hey, we're doing pretty good. Glad to have you, man. Real quick before we get started, what made you decide to begin starting the shows that you're doing?
Well, like you said in the introduction, a lot of people my age are blind. A lot of people my age don't want to listen, and for some reason they believe that they know a lot more than they actually do. And the Bible actually speaks on this. You need to have your eyes open and your mouth shut. Um, the more you observe and the more you listen, the more you are going to benefit and do well in society. And so basically, I'm getting kind of tired. I got tired of people my age saying things that weren't true, spreading things like I know we don't necessarily like this word, but misinformation, things that were straight up inaccurate, and portraying information to be something that it wasn't. And I'm doing the same thing that you're doing, trying to spread the truth and make sure that the truth is heard.
Amen. Well, see, we need to applaud those like this, people. This is what it's all about because the reach that he has and the purchase that he has once he grabs people's attention that are his age, that's what it's all about. Well, we'll come back to you in just a moment and get this show off the runway, but I want to open up, folks. The title of this broadcast is The Good Shepherd versus Bad Shepherd. And there was a preacher that I saw this week, and he was delivering a message. And forgive me, I failed to get his name, but in his message, he was discussing this on an unrelated subject. Tonight, we're going to be relating it to the things going on in the world. But he had a very powerful line that stuck with me, and that line was that sheep live their whole life fearing the wolf, when it is the shepherd in the end that winds up eating them. And man, that stuck with me. I was like, if we put it in a text today, we use the slang term that, oh, well, they're sheep because they're just following the crowd at chow time. They're not doing the research themselves. They're the sheep, right? We're the sheep. Okay, well, in that analogy, in that scenario, we are the sheep, basically, and our elected officials, which we'll call installed officials right now, actually, they are the shepherds. And what are they doing? Man, they are out there putting this carrot out in front of you, or dangling that carrot out in front of you. If it's not ISIS, it's the Houthis. If it's not the Houthis, it's the MS-13 that they're going to bring over here and they're going to kill everybody. If it's not that, it's COVID. If it's not COVID, it's a bird flu. If it's not the bird flu, it's the monkeypox. We even had murder hornets, man. So they put the wolf out there, right? And they keep us in fear of the wolf. And what we have been learning since Trump's first or second term, actually, is that these shepherds, these officials that are in power, they're preparing us for a meal, folks. And this is what is coming out. So, real quick, I want to look at something because God in his word reminded us of this and actually warned us of this. In John chapter 10, it starts out by saying that I will tell you the truth. The man who does not enter the sheep pen by the gate, but climbs in by some other way, is a thief and a robber. The man who enters by the gate in the shepherd of his sheep, the watchman opens the gate for him, and the sheep listen to his voice. He calls his own sheep by name, and he leads them out. And when he has brought all to his own, he goes on ahead of them, and his sheep follow him because they know his voice. But they will never follow a stranger. In fact, they will run away from him because they do not recognize a stranger's voice. And so Jesus used this figure of speech, but they did not understand what he was telling them. And on through the scripture, basically John defines what that means, but basically what that means, let's just go back here to the first, where it talks about the man who does not enter the sheep pen by the gate, but climbs in by some other way, is a thief and a robber. All right, so in our scenario that we have opened up with, what have we learned? Okay, we have been conditioned this whole time to look at our sheep pen here in this nation. Okay, I'm not familiar with any other cultures other than America, so we'll just have to use America for example. But we have been accustomed to our condition, to our sheep pen. We get up, we work, we make money, we come home. We get up, we work, we make money, we come home. Same routine, same sheep yard. We do the same thing over and over while we are fearing the wolf, and the wolf being the examples I gave: COVID, radical Islam, you name it. And our shepherds that we know eventually are going to eat us are the ones watching over the flock. And these shepherds that are the good ones that will come to the gate and we will recognize their voice. This is why everyone is so drawn to Trump, because he is speaking this language. He is speaking what we are witnessing. We have other politicians. It's just like being in the modern day church today, right? I mean, we can see the world burning down around us, for God's sakes. I came up out of Georgia this week, and they have like wildfires just north of Atlanta that I drove through. I
Yep.
mean, we can see the world burning down around us, but yet you go to the modern day church and, oh, everything's happy, happy, joy, joy, when the practitioners can look out the window and see different.
That's a good point.
That's a bad shepherd. A leader of the church is leading the flock astray, right? Same with our government. We have good ones in our government, the ones that are trying to expose the truth, the ones that are sharing the truth, but then we have the bad shepherds. And that's why this division is growing now, because we're beginning to recognize the bad shepherds, the bad sheep, because these that are speaking the truth, like Trump and others, are coming right through the gate and they're speaking our language. But it's exposing these bad shepherds. And what have they done? They have come into our yard, not through the gate, but by climbing over the fence and digging holes under our fence, by lying to us and saying, oh, by the way, we're going to protect you from climate change. Well, there is no climate change. Well, yeah, we're just going to take this money and run. See, the Lord warned us about this, folks, is all I'm saying. And tonight, we're going to get into the good sheep and the bad sheep of the week that we've had this week. So, Brother Dave, hook us up, man. What's your opinion on this?
Man, that was beautiful. Man, literally everything you said, I could not have said it in any way better. And the reason that I agree is because, okay, if you take a look at what a lot of, and I'm not changing the subject, what a lot of anti-Trumpers are saying is that it's a cult and that it's a flock. Well, it's a flock because he's saying the things that politicians don't dare say. If you take a look at Elizabeth Warren, 20 years ago, she was saying all the same things that Doge and Trump are saying. But like you said, she decided to become a bad shepherd. She decided to take the poison and engage in the same behavior that all of the other politicians were engaging in at the time, and she became one of them. And now you see she's fighting Trump and Doge so hard because they know their money came from laundering and fraud and China deals, and like you said, coming through the border, not through the gate, but around the gate. They are infiltrators. They are not welcome here. So everything that you said, I 100% agree with, and I think it's a good highlight on why Trump won the popular vote and why he has so much support. Because if Trump wasn't saying the things that he's saying, we wouldn't be supporting him right now. But he is our only true defender at the very top who is willing to put his life on the line and not worry about anything else to help us. And I think that speaks volumes. And I think it also speaks volumes for the people who speak against him. Because at the end of the day, what they're not realizing, or maybe they do, is they're speaking against their own self-interest. Because no matter how much you like or dislike Trump, the things that he's doing, the things that he's implementing are going to help you. So that's my opinion on everything that you just said, because and this goes back to what the introduction that you gave me. People my age don't talk like this. People my age are afraid to say things like this, not only on the internet, but in public circles, unless they feel comfortable. They won't do it in a room full of Democrats or people who disagree with them because they're worried about their future being ruined. They're worried about being posted online in a where basically the context was taken out and they look really bad and nobody will want to hire them. Some of that's phasing out, and I think you're starting to see a red wave, especially after Trump got shot at multiple times and he didn't give up and he said fight, fight, fight. I think that convinced a lot of young people that wow, there's something to this guy because he didn't cower and run. He stood there and and he like I said, he said fight, and we were right there with him. So yep.
Well, I agree. And when they say, when the Bible says that the good shepherd will come to the gate and the sheep will recognize his voice, that was a recognition, exactly like you said, the standing there and fight, fight, fight. That's coming to our gate. And we recognize that because over the last 4 years, in order to maintain a healthy way of life, just in finances, you have to fight, fight, fight in order to just keep your head above float. And that is a condition that we recognize. And so that was a valid point too. When after the assassination attempt, he stood up and was like, fight, fight, fight. That's coming to our gate, and we recognize our voice. So, David, I'm going to start out with some bad shepherds. The old saying is, and you being a mechanic, you should know this about the art of lubrication, that the squeaky wheel gets the grease, right?
Yep. Yep.
All right. So Chuck Schumer, well, by the way, this weekend in Tennessee, and I haven't heard any as of yet. Now, we're recording this show a little early than tonight, but it's supposed to be Tennessee Tesla takedown this weekend. All major cities are having protested Tesla dealerships, and they're probably going to burn a few down. Now, how ironic is that, David? Here we have. Okay, have you noticed something? Getting back to the Good Shepherd, uh, it was all about climate change, Greenpeace, electric vehicles, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the minute Trump tries to sell a Tesla on the White House lawn, now they hate electric vehicles and they're burning them down, polluting the environment.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. And the funny thing to me is if Biden had endorsed an American-made company, especially an electric vehicle, I don't think anybody would have opposed any of it. But because it's Trump, of course, it's a problem. You
That
know.
just Yeah, that just cracks me up. And those are lithium batteries. I mean, it's probably tearing the environment all to pieces. But okay, so the squeaky wheel gets the grease. We've already identified the word of God where he says the thief comes either over the fence, through the fence, or under the fence, right? Now they're being caught. The sheep now are beginning to not recognize their voice and they're acting out. Here's Chuck Schumer.
And we're going to go after him in so many different ways. We are doing much better on the social media, led by Cory Booker and Tina Smith in our house. And so we're reaching people who were not reached before. We are mobilizing in New York. We have people going to the Republican districts and going after these Republicans who are voting for this and forcing them to either change their vote or face the consequences. This is a long, relentless fight that we fight every day. And I am confident that we will bring Trump's popularity, numbers, and strength down if we keep at it and keep at it and keep at it.
There is y'all a bad shepherd. Okay. The threats keep coming. Right before this second term, when he was in his first term, what did Chuck Schumer say? That all these alphabet agencies have 6 ways till Sunday to come after you, and we saw them do it. We saw them enter that gate, and now they're caught and they realize it, and now they're doubling down and fixing to come after him some more.
Yeah, and I think it's pretty telling. Like you said, Chuck Schumer will just keep going after him. They don't even say why they dislike him so much. They can't give you one good reason other than the fact that he's investigating my funds and I don't want to go to prison.
Right. Exactly right. And you ask yourself, okay, now the truth's coming out, right? And I think that's precisely why he sold that Tesla on the White House lawn. He didn't really sell it, but he was promoting it for that very reason, to show the hypocrisy. You know, uh, David, we did a show many months ago where we were talking about Matthew chapter 16 when the disciples had left and had forgotten to bring food, and they had just fed the multitude with like the loaves and the fish. And Christ was like, "Man, did you not just see what I did over there? And you're worried about food? Really? You need to be worried about the leaven of the Pharisees and the Sadducees." Leaven, the Greek word for leaven, that being that which is rotten that causes to rise up, right?
Gotcha.
And so what Christ was telling them is, look, don't worry about your food. I've got your food, just like he told us here. I'm letting you know there's bad sheep, right? But I've got your food. You be worried about the leaven of the Pharisees and Sadducees. You worry about their rot and what they cause to rise up. He called them hypocrites, the Pharisees and Sadducees. The Pharisees and the Sadducees back then, David, were the modern day, rulers in the
Mm-hmm.
kingdom,
Mm-hmm.
just like our elected officials. And so he warned us about the hypocrisy and their rottenness that they cause to rise up. And buddy, that is on full display.
Absolutely. And part of me wonders if Kamala had won and things did go to shit, part of me wondered if Democrats would try to stay and write it out, or if they would just, jump ship and hightail it to somewhere in Europe. You know what I mean? Because I mean, we know the answer. They would jump ship, and I think that's kind of what they wanted, with the open border, with the crime policies in New York and California, the theft policies. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this is exactly what we're seeing. So there you go. So Schumer was on The View this week and he had a little bit deeper meltdown. Check this out.
And you know what their attitude is? I made my money all by myself. How dare your government take my money from me? I don't want to pay taxes. Or I built my company with my bare hands. How dare your government tell me how I should treat my customers, the land and water that I own, or my employees? They hate government. Government's a barrier to people, a barrier to stop them from doing things. They want to destroy it. We are not letting them do it, and we're united.
Yeah, you're united, all right. But see, the American people have found out you're the one that has dug through the fence. You're the one that are causing all these calamities. The sheep now recognize you for who you are.
One of my favorite things about that clip, if you watch it, is even even Whoopi was like, "Whoa, you got to chill out, Chuck." Which
Yeah.
that's saying a lot. If she's got that face and that look, oh, that's saying a lot.
Yep, it is. And they're exposing themselves is what it is. And getting back to the word, the Bible says that uh everything that was done in the darkness will be shown in the light. Everything hidden will be exposed, right? And I believe that this is what we're saying. So we're seeing good sheep versus bad sheep, and we are identifying the bad sheep. I just wanted to move to Pelosi. Pelosi this week, she gave a threat. Check us out.
It's about what comes next. I myself don't give away anything for nothing. And I think that's what happened the other day. We could have, in my view, perhaps gotten them to agree to a third way, which was a bipartisan CR for 4 weeks, in which we could have had bipartisan legislation to go forward.
So, in regards to shutting down the government off this spending bill and the threats of shutting down the government, this is what she was referring to, this threat, right? Because they're angry because it is these spending bills where they're able to launder their money through and send money to all of these fraudulent activists and fraudulent companies, fraudulent deals in order to launder this money and put it back in their pockets because that's being exposed, David. And so we can see now the handle kind of being put down on these people, can't we?
Absolutely. Her Elizabeth Warren, Chuck Schumer, Adam Schiff, AOC, Ilhan Omar of Minnesota. I mean, you've got a group of them. They're like a cabal of. Um, here's a good way to describe them: the axis of evil. Um, if you got the bad shepherd, and then underneath you got the axis of evil. That's what these people are, and they uphold things like the open borders and the money laundering. And I mean, we've seen the waste that Doge has uncovered, and hopefully they create like an itemized bill so we can see exactly what all the things that were uncovered, and we can see and go piece by piece and line by line. And I would personally like to see indictments handed down. I would like to see people go to prison for this stuff. Specifically, I would like for Nancy Pelosi to be the first one to be tried.
Precisely the point, because if we do not see the perp walk at some point, it's just a revolving door. And I'm going to get into something about April the 2nd that, Trump has been talking about being a glorious day for the United States. We're kind of wondering what this is all about. Could there be some information coming April the 2nd about this? But you were referring to Pocahontas herself, the, the Department of Education, man, is one of the main facets. Now, I don't know if like money laundering, I'm sure it's happening, but I, can't prove it if it's going through the Department of Education. However, it is the Department of Education where this bad wolf, this bad shepherd, has made their way under the gate without us seeing it, really, thinking that they're teaching our kids when actually they are indoctrinating. So I don't know if this is the loss of funds per se, maybe that they were possibly allegedly laundering through that, or if they're losing their mode and method to indoctrinate. But here's Pocahontas.
This is a code red, shout it from the rooftops moment. Trump is letting Elon Musk steal our children's futures. He's trying to shut down an agency that funds after school programs, an agency that helps millions of kids get the financial aid they need when they go to college, an agency that enforces our civil rights laws that protect our students. So if you're a student or if you're a public school teacher, Trump is sending a message loud and clear. He doesn't care about you and he doesn't care about your family. This is just another part of Elon Musk and Donald Trump's playbook to dismantle public education in America. We have to stop them.
Elon Musk is exposing you for being the bad shepherd there, girl. What say you, brother?
Wow, that's incredible. We had a good show last night, and one of the things that I forgot to bring up, and I wish I would have remembered, was even the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, came out and said, to like the point you said, we don't necessarily have all of the proof at this point, but it's coming out, and that's what Doge is uncovering, is that the fraud and abuse has been there for years, and it's been widely known, and it's just been something that's been accepted. I really wish I would have remembered that, because when you got the Speaker of the House coming out and saying, yes, there is fraud and abuse in the government, it's widespread, it's widely known, and it's talked about, that's a problem. And the fact that Elizabeth Warren wants to paint a picture as though Elon Musk is hijacking our government and doing bad things to our kids and look, if we're going to talk about bad things happening to our kids, we could talk about the bathroom situations. We could talk about the fact that kids don't want to go to school, poor funding for teachers. There's a lot of things that we could talk about. But for you to try to say the guy that's exposing fraud and abuse in the government is harming our kids, that doesn't make any sense, and that's a very poor argument. And it's another reason why you guys lost.
And the fact is, the U.S., this is what they've already found, the U.S. Department of Education has allocated over $3 trillion since 1979.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah, over that period, this pre-student spending, it has risen more than 245%. Yet, the results are largely absent.
Well, in fact, they're probably worse.
Right. because there's been no significant progress in student performance because math and reading scores for 13-year-olds have fallen to their lowest point in decades. We have 60% of fourth graders, almost 75% of eighth graders that lack proficiency in math.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, and then Obama's "No Kid Left Behind" didn't help anything. Like P Rock said last night, we got kids who are coming into college that don't know how to read and write.
Right.
So
exactly. That was Bush's "No Child Left Behind," but it transitioned over into Obama.
Oh,
yeah.
gotcha.
70% of fourth and eighth graders are not proficient in reading, and 40% of fourth grade students failed to meet even basic reading standards. We have standardized test scores that have remained stagnant for years, and U.S. students are ranked 28th out of 37 OECD nations in math. Well, there you go. And I know you probably see that on a daily basis, don't you?
Oh yeah, well, and I actually talked about this with P-Rock. I don't know if you ever had this when you were in school, a curved grade. When I was in school, I graduated high school in 2017, and from the time that I was in elementary school to the time that I graduated, there was this thing say you had kids in your class that were doing poorly and it was making the teacher look bad. The teacher could implement what was called a curved grade. Essentially, it's like communism, but for class, right? You take the worst performing student, and you take the top performing students, and you average out their numbers. So that way, let's say this kid got a 50, well, now he's got a 79, and this kid that had 100 now has a 90, I don't know, 6 or 5. It was very common, and part of the reason that it was acceptable was because they saw it as, well, an A is 93 to 100, a B is 86 to 92. So in their little world, it didn't really matter because you still got the A. So what's the big deal? But that's part of the problem and that's part of why we have such weak people my age, is because they grew up with things like that and participation trophies. And you won't hear a lot of people my age say that, but I hated it growing up. Me personally, I didn't like it. I disagreed with it even when I was a kid.
And it makes you wonder how society as a whole didn't pick up on it right when it started happening. It was just this gradual dimming of the lights, the frog boiling in a pot. You don't really realize it at the moment, but then you look back and you're like, wow.
Well, I think I might have an answer for that, Greg. Deception. It's really, and now if we want to get back onto the Bible thing, like we all know that's the devil's thing, is deception. And that's what Democrats do, is decept. They'll tell you they're going to do all these great things, student loan forgiveness, and no more I don't know, less crime, but we're going to get rid of crime laws. Let's defund the police so we can help crime rate go down. Stuff that obviously doesn't make sense.
And we see it daily.
Yeah.
It's starting to bubble to the to the surface, because if we look at this, the Democrats, they want to impeach Trump for deporting seriously violent gangs and criminals and making our border safe and secure. They hate him because he's ending tax on tips, overtime, and Social Security. They hate Elon because he caught billions and billions of waste and fraud in our corrupt government and is giving Doge dividend checks back to we the people, hopefully at some point. Mm-hmm. They say that MAGA is a cult, but their cult leaders couldn't even stand and applaud for a child who beat cancer because their cult leaders said, don't applaud anything Trump says. And they're outraged that Trump is negotiating peace right now with Russia and Ukraine, and never had a new war the first time he was president. I just want to make sure that I understand that unhinged, brainwashed lunatics are showing the fact.
It's a lot of finger pointing, and let's take a look at this. Not a lot of people talk about this. The top 3 most powerful allies we have right now in the Republican Party: Donald Trump, Elon Musk, RFK Jr. We're all Democrats. before they turned Republican. Every single one of them. And the Democrats loved every single one of them. And they
Right.
pushed them out of the party. And it's the same thing has happened with all these Democrats who were centrist leaning, but maybe more progressive on some things, so they just voted left most of the time. And they've been pushed completely to the other side because they're like, dude, this isn't my party. You guys are crazy. You know, like, they might have voted for, Obama because for whatever reason, and then they voted for Biden and they say, what the hell is going on? I didn't vote for an open border. I didn't vote for all these bathroom things. I didn't vote for transgenders to play in women's sports. I didn't vote for all of this.
Mm-hmm.
So now
And-
it's interesting because the Democrats want to point the finger and say, no, it's your fault, and this is why we did bad, but it's never their fault.
Exactly. And when it comes down to the gauntlet, basically, when they're at the end of their rope, we know back during Trump's first term that Pelosi and Maxine Waters and all of them were saying, got to take to the street. You got to draw a crowd. You know,
Yep.
you got to. And the left lunacy is just intensifying. Here we go.
Get this man out of here now. But if that doesn't happen, and we're not promoting it for 1 second, but if that doesn't happen, there will be violence. Yes. And these people had the opportunity to stop it, and they didn't.
So there's going to be violence, David, and we had the opportunity to stop it. But since we went ahead and elected Trump, well, there's just going to be violence. Get ready.
That's like if you had a T-shirt that I didn't like, and I said, if you wear that T-shirt, I'm gonna poke myself in the hand with a fork, and until you take that shirt off, and this is your fault. It's the same logic. It doesn't make any sense.
Well, it's schizophrenia.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good way to put it. Is that I'm kind of curious what the definition of schizophrenia is now.
Well, it's basically it's never your fault. It's always somebody else's fault. And then when you act out and you do something violent or you break something, it's that person that caused you to do that is why you acted out. So it's not,
Here we go. Schizophrenia is a serious mental illness that affects how a person thinks, feels, and behaves, often characterized by hallucinations, delusions, and disorganized thinking, and can significantly impact daily life. Jeez, I couldn't get through that little disorganized word. So
It's
yeah,
all-
that definitely describes them. I 100% agree with that.
yeah, and what that is, that is a spirit. In the Bible, in Thessalonians, it talks about that because they continue to delve, into all these lies and they refuse to believe the truth. They reject it. They reject the words of God, like we're trying to do tonight. God warned us about the sheep and the bad shepherds and the good shepherds. And now it's starting to come to fruition. We're starting to be able to identify them. But anyway, in Thessalonians, it talks about these people will continue to delve into these lies, that they will be given strong delusion where they shall believe a lie. And you could paint the truth on the canvas and they still wouldn't believe it.
Yep.
As Jerry Clower would say, they would climb a tree to believe a lie before they stand on the ground and believe the truth, going out of their way. And that's a delusion. They're delusional in thinking of that, especially with all of this evidence coming out, David.
That was a great analogy. You got to climb a tree. They'd rather climb a tree to accept a lie than hear the truth on the ground. That's a good, man. Because, and it's kind of like, what's that word? Mental gymnastics, right? To basically defend all the things that Biden was doing that ruined our economy, that basically had crime quadruple. Everybody knows about what happened in Aurora, Colorado, where the governor basically ignored everything that was going on and said, you guys are fabricating all of this and it's not true. Meanwhile, you have people getting their apartments broken into at gunpoint, an entire complex getting taken over. You know, there's some people, let's say that happens in a southern state, that's not going to go over very well for that governor, if you know what I mean. I'm just saying. Because you start taking over apartment complexes with weapons, it'll get real ugly real fast.
And they tried to lie about that. I mean, they were saying, "Oh, that's not happening," when the actual people in those neighborhoods were saying, "Yes, it is." There's like 50 cars with like no license plate that are driving around town and creating crime and doing all kind of things.
Yep.
And finally, the what is the difference between truth and a conspiracy? 6 months, right? And so that's a good transition, man. I'm glad you brought that up because now the Good Shepherd has come in stating we're going to remove this from our society, send them back where they came from.
Yep. Yep.
And we've been dealing with this Judge James Balsaberg. He's a district judge in D.C. who wrote the court order to force the plane full of these criminals back to the United States. And I do believe one plane came back, but the other two landed, if I remember correctly. But now we're tied up in court, and we have to look at this James Balsaberg now that we are identifying the good shepherds versus the bad shepherds, because here we have a judge, David. I mean, in all aspect, the judiciary branch is there to ensure that the executive branch is operating constitutionally, right?
Correct.
I mean, we have checks and balances, but when these left-leaning judges are trying to swing their gavel and promote their ideology, that is wrong. So check this
Absolutely.
out.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. Play the clip.
Well, Judge James Balsaberg, he's a Yale Skull and Bones member who blocked President Trump's deportation plan, served on the FISA court, and he gave the green light for the illegal spy warrants on President Trump based on the Steele dossier.
Oh,
He is,
wow.
this is the same judge, David. He was also the judge who oversaw the Ray Epps case during the J6 Fedsurrection.
Whatever came out of that Ray Epps case, was he ever tried or found guilty of anything?
You'll have to kind of research. He was found guilty, but it was like a misdemeanor, and I think he got like, I don't know,
Nothing
slapped.
compared to what anybody else got, just so they could say he was charged with something?
Exactly.
Okay, got it. All right.
He was a Bush and Obama appointed judge whose mother, Sarah Margaret Slold, comes from a prominent Jewish family. Now, we're going to get into the Jewish side of all of this a little bit later in the program, folks. You need to hang on. It's going to be a barn burner. And his father, Emmanuel Balsaberg III, worked in government roles, including in the Office of Economic Opportunity under Lyndon B. Johnson. David.
He's pretty famous right now.
He's very famous right now. We'll get into that too. We got some good stuff, man. We're on a good roll. Can you hang with me?
Yeah,
We might.
yeah. I got another hour at least.
Okay, good. LBJ, he was sworn in right after the JFK assassination and was caught smiling, a winking man, while standing next to Jackie Kennedy with blood still on her dress. The timing must all be coincidence with the release of these JFK files, right? So we can see this connection with this Judge Boseberg, with all of these connections through his father and such, through the JFK stuff. We see that he reigned on the Steele dossier, what they call PP Gate, and then the Ray Epps case, where they weren't going to do anything to Ray Epps until the American people started forcing their hand, and then they just did a little bit to shut us up, right?
Right.
So I had this sneaking suspicion that we already knew Balsaberg would try to pull this. So in this opinion, this is where everybody needs to look. James Balsaberg also chairs the Bishop John T. Walker Fellowship Committee, which grants funds for social services in lesser developed countries. Follow the money, right?
Mm-hmm.
So here we have now this judge involved in all this stuff. We have him funding grants. He chairs the Bishop John T. Walker Fellowship Committee. All right. And they grant funds for social service in lesser developed countries. These countries are the ones that these immigrants have come from. And now we're sending them back. And this happens to be the judge that has blocked this order. What say you, brother?
That's very interesting. And I think there have been multiple cases, especially with the Trump, the ownership assets, where there was clear conflict of interest, and it gets ignored because it's Trump for some reason. Letitia James, her whole campaign was ran on the fact that she's going to get Trump. She'll get him. Didn't care how legal it was. Didn't care what the process would be like. She just wanted that mugshot. And the same thing here. They're using their own methods to try to block what Trump is doing because they don't like it. And like you said, the planes, yes, some of them did land. And if I believe correctly, they landed in El Salvador. And the reason I know that is because the president of El Salvador, who just locked up all those people who were doing criminal activities, he actually came out and said, we have a judicial takeover. I would like to find the exact quote. Basically what he was saying was the judges are taking over our government and hijacking it and doing what they want with it. And that kind of tells me something interesting. He's been very successful in cutting down crime rate in El Salvador. And he's been very successful in getting the Malay. He's been successful in getting the economy going again. If these judges were in foreign countries, I believe they would have tried to block the actions that have benefited their countries so tremendously. They would have been against these policies and tried to use their judicial powers to block it and continue to harm the country for whatever reason, because I guess they want to keep lining their pocketbooks. And like you said, you follow the money. It's always about the money. You follow the money, and it'll tell you the whole story. So
Exactly right. And Ben Berquam, he was on Newsmax this week. He was down in El Paso. Check this out.
All right, real quick on this. One, tell us what ERO is, and two, Tom Homan has to be steaming mad about this.
Yeah, enforcement removal operation. So that's the removal arm of the Homeland Security ICE. So they're the ones that actually are tasked with taking them once the illegals are captured, taking them through the process, taking them back to a judge, having that judge sign off on it. And this is the other problem. Also speaking to HSI, many of these attorneys' offices that are overseeing it, are also trying to block many of these deportations. You have activist judges in places that are trying to block even Trinidad Aragua, the worst of the worst. Some of these guys are being blocked from being removed by activist judges as well. So we've got every level of government is in opposition. We've got opposition actors against President Trump and Tom Homan. And yes, to answer the question, no doubt Tom Homan is pissed, and they are working through it as we speak. These guys are, and you see what Kash Patel's already doing. They're not messing around. If you're blocking them, they're coming after you with the full force of the law.
All right, so it appears to me this would be a great definition of what the deep state looks like. They just want open borders. They want these people roaming the country. They want chaos, and they are hell-bent on keeping it chaotic.
So we have these judicial branches that are put in place to make sure that the executive branch maintain everything constitutionally. They are using their power. They are the bad shepherds, folks. Now we're starting to see this. Ben Berquam was also talking to Newsmax. Now, check this out, David. The big argument is, well, we don't have any beds for them. That's why we can't send them to the border and have them wait and blah, blah, blah. There's no beds. Well, during Biden, man, he spent millions upon millions of dollars to build these beds and holding areas that right now these liberal activists are shutting down. Check this out.
All right, real quick on this. One, tell us what ERO is, and two, Tom Homan has to be steaming mad about this.
I guess I need to grab the right clip. Sorry about that, David.
That's okay. That's all right.
Well, you talk about salt in the wound. One of the reasons why ERO, again, enforcement removal operations, is saying they can't take the illegals is they don't have enough bed space. But what we're not talking about are the hundreds of thousands of beds that were created by Joe Biden and the Democrats to invite the invasion. These are what are considered soft sites. This one behind me in El Paso holds roughly around 7,500 people. It costs $1.2 million a day to operate. And I just got breaking news that this place is closing tomorrow. So it was opened and contracted through using, it's not even owned, it's on county property. Then Border Patrol contracted the county to run this. They've got all these NGOs, leftist, communist NGOs that are a part of operating the thing. And then they used it to invite the invasion. And I'm saying, well, ERO's saying we don't have bed space. We've got these facilities all over the country, but instead of actually using them, they're shutting them down. I just got word Del Rio closed 2 days ago, but this one behind me is set to close tomorrow.
Wow.
The beds are there. They're paid for. If Biden, if Kamala had won, these contracts would have been extended clearly. Now, I don't want the NGOs having any part of the deportation. They'll take them out in a van and make a U-turn and sneak them back in on the next turn. But again, is there anybody at a federal level? I mean, I go back to Tom Homan because he is the border czar now. Is there anybody that can say, hey, you know what? We want to use these.
Yeah, absolutely. And so when I say shut down, by the way, I'm standing in a dust storm right now. So I went my eyes a little bit. I'm blocking the sand from hitting me. That's the beauty of El Paso and the desert. But yes, absolutely. So when it's shut down, it's being shut down for the operations that it was previously being used for inviting the invasion. My hope is, I haven't got confirmation. I've got some calls in to Tom and to some the Border Patrol Chief, Rodney Scott. I'm reaching out to them to find out if we could do the reverse, which I really hope we can. But you're absolutely right. We're going to have to hire different contractors because you're not going to get Catholic Charities to help you out. Now, honestly, even if they wanted to, I wouldn't hire them to do it because they're traitors to our country. So we have to find people that are on our side that believe what we believe to hire out as subcontractors. The big problem is the left has an entire network of traitors within our own country that are set up to do exactly what we saw over the last 4 years and invite that invasion. They're communist churches, they're communist organizations that have been doing this for decades. We have to develop the same sort of network to expel the illegal.
There's your bad shepherds, David.
Yeah, so and like he was saying, we have to basically build our own systems that are going to work for our own purposes, while we dismantle the things that the left implemented that don't work, just like he said.
Yeah, and he's got a point. You know, if Kamala and all of them were still there and still had their power, they would still be using these to bring in their illegal aliens. But now they're being exposed for what they truly are, man. It's unbelievable.
Well, and my thing is, if they're making their way here, they didn't sleep on beds to get here. I mean, if you're getting into a country illegally for free, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I think sleeping on some rocks is probably the least that you should have to worry about. I'm just saying, you know what I mean? That's not that, in my mind, that's not that big of a deal. But anyway.
Well, these corrupt judges are just literally, basically, if we look at all these statistics on the national injunctions imposed by these district court judges from a recent Harvard Law Review article, check this out, 67% of all injunctions that this century came against President Trump in his first term, and 92% were imposed by these Democrat-appointed judges. Can you believe that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can.
Unfortunately, I can now. It's sort of expected from the Democratic Party nowadays. I hate to say that. I really hate to say that.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. You know, Steve Miller, who is, part of Trump's cabinet there, he just laid it out. Here are the facts.
The communist judges are issuing injunctions against President Trump because he is the first president in our lifetimes to reassert the rule of law and constitutional order in this country. To say illegal aliens cannot live here. To say that foreign criminal gangs cannot menace our citizens. To say that unelected bureaucrats do not control the direction of federal policy. To say that foreign aid is not a right, but a foreign policy function vested in Article 2 and the Commander-in-Chief. These are the core principles of the Constitution that undergird our entire democracy. Injunctions are an effort by the radical left to prevent the American people from having the restoration and change they voted for. Yeah. The way these judges look at it is they say, you don't get to have the country you want. You don't get to vote for the change you want. They want all power vested in the bureaucracy and the judiciary, and none in the American people. Yeah. This issue was litigated, Rob, for the last 8 years. The issue of rogue judges, the issue of radical left judges, the issue of local judges assuming awesome powers that do not belong to them. And the American people went to the voting booth and they said, we want democracy back, we want our freedom back, and we want Donald Trump back. And that's what they're going to get, Rob.
Yeah. I'm going to pull up the Constitution for you, David, okay?
All right.
8 U.S. Code 8 U.S. Code 1324. Any person who encourages or induces an alien to come to, enter, or reside in the United States, knowing or in reckless disregard of the fact that such coming to, entry, or residence is or will be in violation of law shall be punished as provided.
Oh, wow. That's in the Constitution?
Yes.
Oh, my goodness.
Imprisoned not more than 5 years. Now it gets better. Ready for this one?
Mm-hmm.
In the case of a violation in which the offense was done for the purpose of commercial or financial gain, imprisoned not more than 10 years. Now, in the case of a violation during and in relation to which the person causes serious bodily injury to or places in jeopardy the life of any person, Lake and Riley come to mind,
Mm-hmm.
they should be imprisoned for 20 years. Now, in the case of a violation resulting in the death of any person, Lake and Riley, they should be punished by death or imprisoned for any term of years or even for life.
Wow. You want to know who I'm thinking of right now? A very specific person that is in Congress right now. AOC. Because she came out and fought against Congress and said that an illegal immigrant has not committed a crime. She made that case to Congress. Is that not, if that's in the Constitution, I don't understand how she's not being tried right now, especially for the Lake and Riley situation.
I know. Well, check this out. In the United States versus Hansen, 599 U.S. 762, in 2023, the U.S. Supreme Court upheld the constitutionality of the statute and affirmed the 20-year sentence of Hillman Hansen for multiple counts of mail fraud, wire fraud, and encouraging and inducing illegal immigration for financial gain.
Who is this?
Hillman Hansen.
Hellman Hansen. Okay. This is the first I've heard of this name.
Yeah, I didn't. Maybe you could research him, but the U.S. Supreme Court in 2023, as early as 2023, just 2 years ago, upheld everything that I just read. So getting back to what you said about AOC, man, most definitely she can be held accountable along with anyone else's name that was signed or had affiliation with bringing in these illegal aliens, including this Judge Bossaberg, right?
Oh, she looks like a liberal.
So on and on it goes. So, folks, this is why we're doing the show that we're doing. Okay, we're understanding we have bad shepherds that have been trying to lead the flock. And to get back to our open, now are we seeing it a little better? Now that we understand who the wolves have been designated as in our lifetime, the COVID, the bird flu, the swine flu, the chicken flu, the everything that they've tried to say is the wolf. The sheep live their life fearing the wolf when it winds up being the shepherd that eats them. And God warned us that we're going to have good shepherds and we're going to have bad shepherds. So we have been identifying bad shepherds. And now we're at the top of the hour, boss. Have you got 1 hour with me to go?
Yeah,
All right.
I got till about 1 o'clock here, so about another hour.
Okay, that's good enough for me. So here we go. We're getting into the JFK. Now I haven't dug through all of the JFK files yet, but I do have some summaries, and we can talk about a few things that are coming out now. So where would you like to go with this? I tell you what, let's do this right here. I'll just go ahead and cover basically the summary, and then we can piggyback off that. So what do the JFK files tell us so far? We know that JFK, he called Joe Biden a traitor. The CIA orchestrated the entire assassination. We have found links to Mossad in Israel. Now, when we start talking about this, folks, understand. I know that we're commanded to bless Israel, okay? But we're going to identify Israel as we always do. They have their deep state, just like America. We've got good people in America, but we've got our bad shepherds. Israel has their bad shepherds as well, the Mossad. We have found ties to the Khazarian mafia, and this Gary Underhill was murdered after revealing back then that it was a CIA hit. And here is the information on this on Newsmax.
One document that was redacted yesterday, I think very clearly shows a conspiracy. The day after the assassination, CIA agent Gary Underhill, quote, left Washington in a hurry late in the evening. He showed up at the home of friends in New Jersey. He was very agitated. A small clique within the CIA was responsible for the assassination, he confided. And he was afraid for his life. He was afraid he would probably have to leave the country. Less than 6 months later, Underhill was found shot to death in his Washington apartment. The coroner quickly ruled that a suicide. I'm no expert, but to me, that would be a conspiracy right there. That would suggest that our own CIA played a role in killing our 35th president.
Wow. Okay. The stage is yours, David.
Well, that's so all of that is very interesting. And I'm trying to find the name of the man because I actually had these files saved on my onto my computer, and now I can't find them. I wish I could. Oh, here we go. All right, I've got multiple here, and there is a man that is brought up multiple times who is a special informant of the, I believe, CIA, and he basically investigated things for them off of the record. Okay, James Angleton. All right, so James Angleton is brought up all throughout these papers. Okay, and essentially, one of his biggest jobs was to work with the Mossad. Okay, to basically work against JFK because I know we haven't covered this yet, and I hope this isn't throwing information out too early. Uh, One of the big things for Mossad wanting to get rid of JFK is JFK opposed Israel owning nuclear weapons. Um, and for whatever reason, that's what he believed. And the Mossad had a very big problem with this, and so the CIA hired Angleton. Um, and I wish I could send this to you so you guys could see it, but I know this is a no visual show on iHeartRadio. I can read some of this to you. It's pretty lengthy. I don't want to waste your guys' time. But basically, I'll read some of this for you, just some of the bits and pieces. He has numerous foreign sources and channels for developing information. Primary source is the Israeli intelligence service. In addition to this, he is in contact with Jay Lovestone, who periodically makes available to Angleton copies of reports which Lovestone has received from American Federations of Labor representatives throughout the world. Okay, so that's basically them telling you that the CIA worked directly against the president of the United States. Now, I want to make something very clear because I'm a young man, and I know that when you're a young man, your opinions can get misconstrued very easily for the simple fact that you're young. Okay? I agree with everything that Greg said. This is the deep state, okay? This is not the people that are talked about in the Bible. This is not your average person that lives in Israel. This is the deep state that he was working with and for, okay? And unfortunately, this deep state still exists, and they succeeded with the assassination attempt on JFK. And I wanted to throw that out there because for some reason I haven't seen a lot. I know people are busy, and these papers just came out. But I haven't seen a lot of people bring up James Angleton because, as far as what I'm seeing, James Angleton is a key, very, very, very key piece of all of this because he's what tied it all together information wise and said, hey, we've got information. This is what we want the president to do. This is what kind of car we want him to drive in. He's going to go around this turn at a certain speed because we know the driver's going to go at that certain speed because we told him to. Mossad, this is when you take your shot. So I just want to throw that out there that there is a lot of information in these papers, and we do not want it to get misconstrued to say that we are anti-Israel or against Israel because we are absolutely not saying that. So I just want to throw that out there.
Exactly. In a 1954 memo, the CIA officer James Angleton was under the influence of the unvetted Israeli intelligence. We had a declassified U.S. Office memorandum that was dated April the 30th, 1954, from a W.A. Brannan to A.H. Belmont, marked secret, and details CIA officer James Angleton's handling of sensitive information, including those tied to Israeli intelligence. It described Angleton's direct coordination with the FBI, often bypassing CIA channels, causing concern over unverified information shared with the Bureau. Also, in this document, it highlights Angleton's constant reliance on Israeli intelligence sources, noting he supplied unverified data to the FBI. And it was recommended that Angleton be assigned a temporary informant symbol to regulate Israeli intelligence data. And to be clear, Angleton's Israeli intelligence connections have already been known in previous drops. But what's significant here, David, is the now established fact that none of what the Israeli intel sources that were feeding Angleton was vetted. In other words, this Israeli intel simply said, hey, just trust me, bro.
Mm-hmm.
So it sounds like this James Angleton was possibly manipulated.
Absolutely, he was basically a lapdog for the FBI.
Right, and we've been seeing a lot of lapdogs, a lot here recently. So here we have more bad shepherds being exposed, folks, and it comes down to this. We have been screaming and screaming for the Epstein files to come out, right? And they've been delayed, and I'm not making excuses now. Listen, and David's the same way. We're the type of people. Listen, we're at the bowl, so let's eat, right? Quit taunting us with barely opening the can so we can smell the food.
Yeah.
Let's throw it in the bowl and eat. And we're waiting on these Epstein files. Dr. Russell Gregory, David, had something very interesting. Now that we kind of see this Israeli Mossad, the bad shepherd of Israel, in possibly allegedly involved in this from what we're making out. Dr. Russell Gregory said that, the JFK files had to come first before the Epstein files because a lot of this Epstein stuff, Epstein was tied to the Mossad, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the world is unraveling this puzzle in real time, and it will show the Israel Angleton / CIA Lyndon B. Johnson axis connection here.
And that's part of my hope is that's part of why it's taken it so long to come out is because it's so big, so widespread that they're gonna have to connect a lot of webs and put a lot of information together for it to even make sense to us.
Yeah, because it's all out in the open now, and everybody's deciphering it. But soon it's going to be accepted that JFK's hit was all about the Israeli nukes, just like you had said. And then we're going to learn about Epstein / Mossad blackmail. So it's almost like the old saying, even though we're under a egg / chicken shortage, but which came first, the chicken or the egg? Well, we know it had to be the chicken in order to get the egg. So it's almost like this the golden egg. Yeah, it's the Epstein files, but we're not going to be able to understand it until we get the chicken first. So the JFK files are the chicken. Pretty interesting stuff.
All right. So what did you say our next topic was?
Well, what we're going to do now, I guess now, we well, I've got one more real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
I didn't know whether to get into this or not, but we may as well because Roger Stone affirms that the fight with Israel was a factor in JFK's death. And Roger Stone is a respected individual. But in May of 1963, JFK penned a letter warning Israeli Prime Minister David Ben-Gurion. He's the one that basically was the first prime minister once Israel was reestablished in 1948. But JFK, he sent Ben-Gurion this letter against developing nuclear weapons, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he sought for the inspections of their secret domiciled nuclear facility. And the prime minister responded by largely ignoring JFK. And then months later, 1963, November the 22nd, JFK was assassinated, and the autopsy loses his brain. They lose his brain, proving that there were multiple shooters.
Mm-hmm.
Now, his predecessor, old Lyndon B. Johnson here, he ignored the nuclear facility and brings the United States further into war with Vietnam. JFK utterly committed to world peace and stopping the threat on nuclear holocaust. And Lyndon B. Johnson would proceed to commit heinous war crimes and attempt to create a war off a false flag in tandem with the state of Israel during the USS Liberty catastrophe. So can it really be considered coincidence that just months before JFK's death, he was making enemies with Israel?
Absolutely not. And like you said, the USS Liberty incident, a lot of people don't talk about that. It was a big cover up. If you want to talk about espionage and evidence that nations like US and Israel conspire against the world, the deep state, there's your evidence. There you don't need anymore. Like it happened. You don't it's not a story, like it happened. So
pretty wild stuff. All right, we're going to get into the good sheep. This is kind of what we're going to close with here, Dave. We're going to get into the good sheep, some of the good things that are happening now that we understand the bad sheep. And the Soul Cults channel talks about this April the 2nd that Trump has been alluding to.
The amount of investment coming into the country is outrageous. And just a few hours after that post, he reconfirms that NVIDIA are going to be investing billions into the US. And then he announces that Johnson & Johnson are going to be investing $55 billion into the US with their manufacturing. Within a few minutes after that, we go over to the UAE, who have now confirmed that they're going to be investing $1.4 trillion over the next 10 years into America. The world is watching, and the world is going to be getting behind the USA because that is the place to be. That's where it's all happening. So as he's fixing the world, he's setting the stage for the world to get behind each other. And then after that, all the corruption will start coming out because everyone has something good to fall back on. These changes are going to start rippling around the world too. He's making statements now, and no one can say anything bad about him because all of this is for the people, all of it. So April the 2nd, Liberation Day. I'm sure we're going to see a lot of things start changing, and the mainstream media are going to have to report on it because everyone else will be talking about it.
Because he put up on Truth Social, April the 2nd is Liberation Day in America. For decades, we have been ripped off and abused by every nation in the world, both friend and foe. Now it's finally time for the good old USA to get some of that money, respect back. God bless America. So, what do you think it could be, Dave?
Absolutely. So, at the beginning of the clip, did he specify who was planning to invest that much money into us? Did he say a name or? Because
well, let me go back and listen to see.
The amount of investment coming into the country is outrageous. And just a few hours after that post, he reconfirms that NVIDIA are going to be...
Yeah. Okay, I remember that announcement. Yeah.
He announces
Okay,
that Johnson
yeah.
Johnson
So,
are going to be
hang on a
investing
second.
55.
So, NVIDIA is that chip, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, they do a lot. They make graphics cards. They basically computer stuff. They just built a robot. They do a lot of stuff.
Oh, okay.
They're basically like the leaders of technology. Like all the stuff that your iPhone uses, a lot of it was developed by NVIDIA and originally created by NVIDIA. But yeah, okay. So, well, what I think it more than likely is going to be is announcement that the tariffs worked, that we're going to have huge investments from multiple different companies. Apple, more from NVIDIA, just companies that left throughout the NAFTA agreement where they realized it was much cheaper to just go to Mexico or Canada because our government incentivized going there. I believe he's going to announce that he's creating policies for these companies to come back, not have to spend a lot of money to come back. We'll front the bill, and in return, they're going to invest and start creating goods here. That's what I think the announcement's going to be.
Well, I sure hope it's that, and I hope it's more. I hope we're going to start hearing that we're going to possibly start seeing some purple walks, because the reason I say that, Laura Ingraham did an interview with Trump the other day, and Trump brought her into the Oval Office where there was something hanging on the wall that had a curtain closed in front of it. Check this out.
So this is the Declaration of Independence.
Wow.
And they ask that this be done. It's never been up. It's been in the vaults for many decades. And they said, we have to do something like drapes or something because the light eventually affects it. And it's very cool.
Oh my gosh.
Isn't that great? Just went up yesterday.
Wow.
Think Joe Biden would do this? I don't think so. Do you think he'd think of it? Do you think he knows what it is?
That's pretty good. You think Joe Biden would do this? I don't think he would think of it.
Yeah, he don't even know what that is.
Come on, man.
Come on, man. That's good. That's good.
Yeah. Well, okay, so we're gonna have to see how this plays out because as far as Joe Biden is concerned,
I don't think he went to school nowhere. If he went to school, he didn't learn nothing.
all right, so all jokes aside, David, he's hanging the Declaration of Independence on the wall in the Oval Office. That's got to be some sort of signal or sign or something as we're coming up on April 2nd.
Well, I mean, it's the same thing he's been saying. Make America great again. You know, get back to being a sovereign country where a Christian country. You know, have an identity. Yeah, we're a melting pot of different cultures and identities, but at the end of the day, we're Americans, and we've lost our way in the last, I would say, probably 5 years. We've lost our way, and Trump is putting us back on the right path. And I mean, like I said, they've done everything. They've tried to cancel all the people who come onto shows like you and me and give our opinions on things. They can't. They try to shoot them down, literally. They try to take shows down. But they it's come to a point where there's just too many people saying the same thing. There's too many people who agree with what Trump is doing. The movement is too large. It's what they call a red wave. The wave is too high not to ride it. So um, that's just what's going on in my opinion. And like you were talking about getting back to the good shepherd and the bad shepherd, I think even those who are not religious are realizing Trump is the good shepherd for the simple fact that um, he's not willing to give up just for the simple fact that there's opposition. He's not willing to give up for the simple fact that they're willing to take his life. He doesn't. He wants to fight for you and me because he understands that he has the power to do that, and there's not a lot of people out there that are going to do it. He's the only one actually. Um, so
Hmm.
so
Yeah. Well, in a worldly setting, yes. He may have seriously been anointed for a time such as this to move forward. In the Declaration of Independence being hung in the wall in the Oval Office, to me, is a sign to a forward motion. Now, I will tell you, Jerry Duckett's going to be tuning in. He loves listening to the show,
oh
so
yeah.
he's going to be very impressed with you
What's
when
going
he
on, Duckett? How you doing?
There you go. And my good buddy Robert, he's a friend of ours too. I can't leave Robert out. But before we close, I do have a few prayer requests. Of course, pray for the nation, folks. Pray for just just pray that everything goes smoothly. We're going to close with the Tesla issue that's happening right now, but also Sister Tammy L. Doremus. I don't know if y'all know her or not, Tammy L. Doremus, but if you've ever seen that TV show, Cajun Pawn Stars, that used to be on, it's not the Nevada Pawn Stars, it's the Cajun Pawn Stars. Tammy Doremus, she's a friend of mine on Facebook, and her son just got married, and they're going to be starting their life, and she was asking for prayers on that. So I messaged her and told her we'll send prayers up out of Tennessee. But all right, so Tesla is on the docket, and Pam Bondi announces serious federal charges for 3 defendants who terrorized Tesla with Molotov cocktails. Let this be a warning. If you join this wave of domestic terrorists against Tesla properties, the DOJ will put you behind bars. 5 to 20 years is what each of the defendants face. So, folks, here we go. Looks like we got some meat on the bone in this administration. David, I'll let you wrap it up for
Well,
us there, brother.
well, as they should. They should be tried. You can't go around and vandalize. Not only is it insulting because it's an American business that you're choosing to not support for very poor reasons. But I mean, you have that right as an American. But it's against the law, and somebody owns that. They need that vehicle, and you can't. And I actually saw a Democrat who, and I won't say it was a very left-leaning person, and his Tesla was vandalized, and he said, "Man, I wish that guy would have just came up to my door and knocked on my door and told me what he was going to do, because I would have helped him." And and then I would have done it to somebody else's Tesla. It's like, dude, we were talking about schizophrenia. That's a great example. Not thinking clearly, disoriented thinking. It doesn't make sense. And these people, they got used to the last administration, to where Kyle Rittenhouse gets put on trial, where Daniel Penny gets put on trial. That's not going to happen anymore, because the FBI has been reformed, the federal government has been reformed. The Republican Party holds the majority in Congress. That's not going to happen anymore. And so they're used to the way that they used to be able to do things. They can't do it that way anymore. They're going to be arrested, they're going to be tried, and hopefully sentenced. So this is all beautiful. Everything that has been going on, for the large majority, I support. The only thing that I had questions on was the DOE, but that's a separate episode that I don't want to get into right now, because that's even a huge topic right there. But just getting back into the Good Shepherd, I think even if Trump makes a wrong step or makes a mistake, I don't think that he should be accosted the way that Democrats paint the picture, because obviously, like we brought up earlier, deceit is one of their favorite things to do, and they will use any opportunity they can to bring down Trump, legitimate or not, and that's hurt their case a lot, and it's going to hurt them going forward. I think people are going to be very reluctant to vote for the Democratic Party, knowing that Chuck Schumer, Adam Schiff, Elizabeth Warren, and AOC, Ilhan Omar are a part of that committee, because these are the same people who are actively going against your country's self-interest. So I just want to end the show on that. Thank you very much, Greg, for allowing me to be on your show. I enjoyed it. I had a great time. This is the longest show that I've ever done, and this is the first professional show that I've ever been a part of. Thank you to Smokehouse Studio guests for having me. I hope you enjoyed my presence, and hopefully I didn't ramble on too much, and hopefully I have given you hope in the younger generation that not all people my age are blind and just listen to the crowd and follow orders, because if Trump flipped a switch tomorrow and said, we love Afghanistan and we love AOC, I would have a problem with that, and I would immediately speak out against it, because I use my brain and I come to my own decisions and thoughts based off of research. So again, thank you, Greg, and I'll let you go ahead and close out the show.
All right, buddy. Well, don't run off just yet.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I'm here.
We've got to say hello to P Rock too, man. Can't leave.
Yeah. P Rock, I'm so sorry. I'll let you out.
I want you to tell people where they can find you. I want you to advertise your program. Go ahead.
Thank you. Okay. All right. Sounds good. So if you want to catch political live streams, I know a lot of people aren't a big fan of this app, but TikTok, on TikTok, I am Wide Try Blaze. Again, that's just, Y as in spelled like WHY, and then try and blaze. Same on YouTube, Why Try Blaze Politics, if you want to find the recorded version on my channel. And we also go live on Kick at Why Try Blaze. The only difference on Kick is it's more like gaming streams. If you want to hang out with me, I'll play Call of Duty. I'll play a variety of games, but that's a separate topic. So yeah, that's where you guys can find me. I don't use Twitter or Instagram or any of that for content right now. So as far as all that goes, those are the only real places you'll be able to find me. I would say if you want to find me consistently, TikTok is the one that I upload every day, multiple times a day, and then go live on. So yeah.
All right, very good. Check him out, man. I was very impressed at his first broadcast. I was like, wow, okay. This old boy's on to something, man. And I'll admit it to the world. He may not know how to put on a wiper blade, but buddy, he can flat do a program. But he saved himself the other day. We got the wiper blade.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's not gonna tell the whole story. I got the wiper blade off.
Yeah.
Misinformation, okay? That's what that is, Greg.
And he did it with a sledgehammer. That's the first time I've ever seen a wiper blade.
I'm telling you. Hey, boss man walked in behind us and said, "That looks scary. You got a sledgehammer 6 inches away from a windshield trying to get off a wiper blade." I understand that.
Yeah. All right, folks. The sheep live their whole life fearing the wolf when it is the shepherd that winds up eating them. Hopefully, we have got the bad shepherds somewhat out of the way, and the good shepherd here on the earth is in place, and our spiritual shepherd is always on the throne. Never forget that. And to close out what David was saying, Jerry Clower had a great analogy in regards to Trump. You know, Trump may give it all he's got and fail, but that's okay because at a coon hunting contest, they have a coon out on a log in the pond, and there was this great big old German Shepherd that everybody was betting on. And when that shepherd walked out on that log to fight that coon, the minute the coon hissed, the shepherd turned around and ran back. And then there was this tiny little old hookworm dog, a little Heinz 57, a mix of everything. He went out on that log and that coon hissed and that dog jumped on that coon and they fought the rest of the evening. And old Jerry Clower said, you know, I don't know about you, but I'd lay my money on that little dog, what was ready to give it all he had.
Mm-hmm.
So, in regards to that, I do believe we've got that little dog out on the log. What say you, David?
I think you're right, Greg. I think we got that little dog in us.
Yep. And folks, this is what it's all about. It's identifying the good shepherd versus the bad shepherd. So I hope tonight we've kind of lined this all out and gave you some examples, things to look into. And, you know, Lord willing and the creeks don't rise. Hopefully we'll have some more information next week. But thank you, Brother David, for being a part of the program and for coming on and sharing your information, your knowledge. Folks, hang in there. Pray for our ones that need prayer. Pray for this nation. Until next time, this is old David in Smokehouse. Bye-bye.
See you, Smokehouse Studios.
All right, bye.
Smokehouse. To talk with Smokehouse, dial 712-770-3857. That number once again is 712-770-3857. Then dial the access code 252-380, followed by the pound sign, and you will be placed in the queue.
Call in and join the show.
SmokehouseStudios.net. God is among us. The door to the ark is slamming shut.
Dude, we're off the air. That was friggin' awesome.
Yeah, dude, man, that was great.
That was awesome, dude.
I was feeling the energy the whole time. I can't even lie, man. It was electric.
Well, the audio quality is just superb, dude. You're gonna be blown away.
Dude, yeah. How long does it take for the episode to be uploaded?
Oh, it'll take probably about 30 minutes. I'll send you a link to it when it loads.
Okay. Yeah. Because I'm interested to hear my audio. But
Mhm.
but yeah, dude. So what'd you think? Do you think I did all right? You got any tips or pointers you want to give me for in case I ever come back?
No, I mean, man, you were spot on. You had your facts. You had you were just right behind what I was talking about, and you even I had when we got into that Israeli deal about Allington.
Mm-hmm.
I had a clip saved to read from, and you began to start talking about certain things, and I pulled that clip up, and I'll be dang if you didn't start talking about him. And I'm like, well, this is just gonna fall right in line.
Well, hell yeah. So, with that being said, Greg, maybe not like every week or every 2 weeks, but every so often, do you want to do like a co-host thing, like maybe a little side show that we try to do every now and again, or you know what I mean?
Well, heck yeah, man.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, Greg, if you want to implement like a every other week show or whatever, I'm down with it, man, because that was good. And I like my live show on TikTok, but I really enjoy having the conversation because the lives on TikTok, yeah, they're good and they're entertaining for the viewers. But as far as having the conversation, sometimes it gets hijacked by people and you don't get a word in edgewise. This is completely different and it's a back and forth. And it's not an echo chamber. We're actually bringing up facts that like matter and are interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So, dude, man, that I feel like that was something special right there. That was good.
Yeah, I wished I hadn't have grabbed that wrong clip, man, because it would have been perfect.
Dude, no, it didn't even matter, dude. I think people who listen to long form content like this, they're gonna be like, "Oh, haha, he brought up the wrong clip," and then you brought up the right clip within like 2 or 3 seconds. It would be one thing if it was like a minute and a half, but
Right.
but no, you got it up in like a few seconds. I mean, dude, that's hardly even a delay.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, I'm gonna get out of here. I'm going to old Dan's house. He's had one of his kids' birthdays, so
Okay.
yeah, gonna go do that. But yeah,
Well,
dude, send me the link whenever it's uploaded.
all right. Well, I'm publishing it now, and when you get it, be sure to send it to Mike. Because Mike listens to my show every now and then.
Oh, dude, he's gonna love that. Does he really?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh man, he's gonna freaking love that. Oh shit! All right, I gotta do that. Also, did I avoid cursing? Because I think I might have said shit one time, and I apologize
Well,
for that.
that's all right. You did, and I just kind of ignored it. And
I
we just
apologize.
actually, you were talking about ships.
Oh, so I can just say I meant to say ship.
Yeah, yeah. If anybody says anything, it's he meant to say ship.
Yeah, so I apologize for that, but yeah. I'll work on that for next time. Okay, all right. I'm gonna get out of here, Greg. Great show. Then I will talk. Yeah, send me the clip, and then I'll send it to Mike.
All right, sounds good, brother.
All right, see ya.
All right, buddy. Bye.